Alright guys, welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 16th of September 2019. So we're going to do a quick update on EURJPY. Not really much to note in terms of movement since we started. More importantly, movement in favour of what I'm expecting. Monthly chart hasn't changed really. I mean, we've had a nice grind up this month. Okay, which is fine. It's not a problem. Obviously, you have this lower level liquidity pool that's still in play at 114.85. You know, and as I've been saying, you know, you just have to be very, very patient. Obviously, we're a good distance away from that now. You know, if you take where price currently is, you're talking about 400. Let's just call it 450 pips away. Right, so it's a good distance. It's a good distance away, and it's very easy when it's like this to just say, well, what's the point? I just want to, you know, why don't I just go long? You know, price is obviously going higher. Why don't I just go long? Well, as I've said in previous videos, it's very easy to go in the direction that you think price is going at the moment, and forget this higher time frame idea. You know, I mean, look, if I show you the 4 hour here, you know, as price came down here and took out this and went higher, okay, just for argument's sake, let's say it didn't take out this high here. It's the type of thing that I look for, okay? So it comes down, takes out the liquidity, has a really nice push away from that, okay, doesn't take out the high and say hovers around here, okay, and then starts to pull back ever so slightly and then turn just there, okay? That's a long position for me, something like that, okay? And you can see there's still plenty of range to take a 20 to 30 pip trade. You know, everybody's happy, everybody's done, okay? So why not do that? Like, failing the fact or forgetting the fact that it took out the high. That's not what I mean. In the example, I'm saying, you know, why didn't I go long? Blah, blah, blah. Because the higher time frame draw is still here, okay? Nothing's changed that. The only way that that's going to change is if price comes all the way up here, gets through this consolidation and starts to grind towards these highs, okay? So, again, it's very easy to lose sight of the big picture, okay? Now, there are obviously other ways to approach EURJPY at the minute, okay? You could say, you know, it's come up, it's taken out both liquidity pools, as I noted, you know, and now I'm going to be looking for a, you know, potential short up here, for example. So I'm going to go short, you know, and let's say price starts to grind lower, and start to drive towards that liquidity pool, and you're in for a 400 plus pip trade, just for example, okay? You can do that. You can take it halfway down. You can take it down here. You can take it down here. The point is, it's not just I'm saying, or just because I'm saying I want to see price down here before I'd even consider doing anything. Okay, that stops anybody else from studying this. Okay, that's just the way I do it personally. You know what I mean? I'm really specific, very anal about what I want to see in the marketplace, because it took a long time to get past that I want to be right idea, which shows up in a lot of different ways. It took a very, very long time for me to get that out of my system. You know, now I've got no interest in being right. You know, my only interest is, you know, making sure that, and it's not even about making sure that the trade works. It's not that, or making money. My interest is, as a trader, did I take the right trade? You know, was I patient enough? Did I wait for that moment? You know, and am I happy with the trade that I took? That's the only thing I care about, because if I can solve that problem, everything else just kind of comes. You know, money's just a byproduct of, you know, good trading. If you're taking very, very good trades and you're being patient and you're waiting for these moments to, you know, to present themselves, money's going to take care of itself, obviously. So it's just a byproduct of good trading. So as it stands, let me just drop down to the hourly, because I don't really do a lot of hourly work. Yeah, it's too low a time frame for me to mark off what I was going to do. So 4 hours, we've taken out these highs, fine. I've had a nice gap down, you know, gap's almost filled, okay? So it would be nice to see, you know, a gap fill, you know, It doesn't necessarily have to go up there, just to fill in that tiny little bit, but a gap fill, and then we start to run lower. The next area of interest for me personally is this small area here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color to denote it's an interesting sort of level. I want to see price through this now. If price goes through this, okay, then I'll be considering the lows down here. Okay, these two lows down here. I'm not going to leave that on the chart just yet. Okay, but I want to make a note of it here. All right, so this is something that you need to be paying attention to. Excuse me. So again, think about the context. Think about what's going on. Okay, weekly. We've been going up for a couple of weeks. Okay, let me just show you. I've been going up for a couple of weeks. There's a tiny imbalance up there, which almost filled. Yeah, which for me that's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. So an upside objective has been fulfilled. You can see it on the weekly. Okay, two highs were taken. So that's fine. Drop down to the daily. You can see the confirmation of that. Drop down to the 4 hour because we're looking for an interesting level to know. I could mark it on the daily as this candle right here. Okay, on the lower side, but I prefer to use the hourly for the reasons I'm going to show now. Because on the 4 hour, because on the 4 hour you can flesh it out a little bit more, and you can see the actual level that was responsible for the stop run just there. Okay, and then you can see the lower level liquidity pools. So going into this week, what I would like to see is this level taken. So I want to see price come through this level, okay, and then start to drive towards these equal lows down here. There is I don't know if that is, looks like a tiny inefficiency. Yeah, there's one right there. Okay, very, very small imbalance right here. Okay, but for now, the most important one is this. This is the level. I want to see price come through this level, and I want to see price grind towards these lows here. And as we start to come down, remember, it's going to be changing the structure of price. It's going to be changing the dynamic of price. So as price comes through this, it's going to be changing things. There'll be an order flow shift here if it happens, but it's got to happen convincingly. I want to see price through it nicely. Okay, and then start to drive towards these lower levels. And we'll take the actual level itself. Okay, around about 70 pips, so there's plenty of range there. Okay, so remember, okay, although I'm studying this and I'm looking for specifics, okay, we are expecting the 114.85 to be taken at some point. Yeah, that's the draw for me. So any price, any higher prices offers an opportunity to take moments like this, break them down, start to really look at price, see where we go from there. On the upside, okay, if price does start to grind higher, okay, and it gets through this high, the next level, as far as I'm concerned, would be here, which makes sense. Which would make sense that price would hit this level. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'll leave it on the chart for now, and we'll see what happens. And then, having said that, pretty much finished with the analysis. Let me just quickly go over to Forex Factory. I just want to quickly go over something that davidman asked or commented. Hi LSP, appreciate your effort, many thanks, no problem. I still cannot see how time frames can determine liquidity strength to the extent that one can determine imbalances. I guess all will be revealed as the EJ study unfolds. Let me just reread that. I still cannot see how time frames can determine liquidity strength. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Time frames and liquidity strength, obviously, the higher the time frame, the stronger the liquidity pool. Okay, it's as simple as it gets, because the higher time frames, obviously, the ranges are bigger. Even if you don't believe or subscribe to the idea that big institutions or an algorithm or the central banks, or market makers are in control of price and they're driving price to these liquidity pools so they can take people out of the marketplace and scoop up liquidity or engineer liquidity. Even if you don't believe any of that, just look at the ranges on the higher time frames. okay, when you're dealing with a weekly higher time frame level, okay, and a range, the ranges are much bigger. Obviously, the average weekly range is going to be larger than the average hourly range, for example. Okay, so the higher the time frame, okay, the stronger the liquidity pool and the bigger the liquidity pool. Okay, but then you put to the extent that one can, that one can determine imbalances. Determining imbalances, this is a tricky one, right? Because when you're looking at a higher time frame liquidity pool, and I'm going to do this very, very loosely, okay? So do not take this, just take this at face value, okay? But let's say, just for argument's sake, you see how price came down into this down candle, okay? And it pretty much respected the mean threshold of that down candle. Okay, fine. But look at the range that you have to work with. You've got a whole weekly range here. So if you take that weekly candle and you believe that this down candle is going to respect price, or price is going to respect this down candle, you've got a 280 pip range on that weekly candle, this one right here. So as price starts to come down into it, okay, and you drop down to the lower time frames, you can break that candle down in a way where you can see the imbalances within this weekly candle. Yeah, so you can break it all down, and you can see the moments within this candle where price, as it starts to come down, it would make sense that price would stop there. Now again, I said take that at face value, because this is not just, well, price is coming into a down candle, or price is coming into a consolidation, or price has just taken out an old high, or price is just so on and so on and so on. So all of this is going to happen now, or there has to be an imbalance there, or price is definitely rebalanced. It's not the way it works. You have to be able to understand how the flow of price is going based on everything that you're seeing on the chart. Okay, so there's so many different scenarios. If price starts here and it comes all the way up to this point and turns, okay, but there's a lot of turning points along the way, you can take each one of these turning points, right, and it gives you an idea of the positions that big institutions will be holding, or whatever your belief is. I mean, like I said, listen, you've got to understand as well, the belief that I have of why the markets move is the reason, and the, how can I say, I'll say that again. The belief that I have of why price moves is what gives me the ability to be able to read price the way that I do. Okay? Now, I'm not saying it's right. I believe it though. And because I believe it, I'm able to read price in a way that complements that idea. Okay? If you or anybody, we're speaking to davidman there, but if you or anybody believed, that having a moving average on your chart was responsible for moving price, and you could make that work. Anybody that comes along and says to you, listen, no offense, I know you make, $200,000-$300,000 a year. I know you're a great trader. I've seen your trading. You're obviously very consistent, but the idea that the moving average is what controls price is ridiculous. Come on, seriously. That person's going to say to you, look, I don't really care what you think, because I've been consistent for the last 15 years. And this is what works for me, and you are not going to change my belief. And that's how it is. Beliefs are very, very strong. So ultimately, like I said, and I know I've gone off a little bit here, but you have to believe, I want to be really, sorry, you have to believe in something that works for you. That's what I was going to say. But I want to be really careful, because I've done videos like this before where I've said things and people just take it, just take what I've said and that's it. That I'm just going to go for it now, and they have no idea that there is a whole host of other things that you need to be able to understand before you can just randomly jump into the charts and say, well, there has to be an imbalance there, or there's definitely liquidity there, or, there has to be this, or there has to be that. It's just not the way it works. So I don't want people, obviously, to get into, get themselves into bother. This is education. This is a way for me to show you the flow of EURJPY, and obviously answer as many questions as I can along the way, in the hopes that it helps somebody. I mean, guys, you'd be surprised. Honestly, I'm not joking when I say this. You'd be surprised, but I've had emails. Imagine this, and this is why sometimes I go off like this, and I have to be very careful how I say things. I did a video last year. If I remember, it was on USD CAD. I might be wrong. But I did a video and I was talking about, live trading, and I was talking about a specific trade that I was in at the time. And at the beginning of the video, I said, hi guys, blah, 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 blah. This is just for education only. Just do not follow along. I know, because I've done this. I've watched the videos where people have said, listen, this is for education purposes only, and then I've gone and done, whatever I've seen in that video. Granted, this was a long time ago, but I've done it before, so I know what it feels like, right? So I say, look, don't take trades. And I made it very clear that I specifically opened that trade, okay, before I started recording. I left it open for a while. Then I started recording and I was going over the trade. I did it specifically to stop anybody from following along, right? And I'm going through the video and I'm explaining some things, this and that. And then a couple of days later, I get an email from somebody he was slating me. She, I don't know if it was a he or she, but I don't want to say it either. But the person was slating me, saying I was responsible for them losing money, this and that and the other. I was an arsehole and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I sent an email back. I said, look, I don't mean no disrespect, but you're an idiot, I did everything that I possibly could to make sure that nobody was following along on that trade. I made it very clear, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. And yet you chose to do something like that, so that's on you. Yeah, I can't control people's behavior. I can only say what I'm going to say. So going back to the whole point of this video and this little rant. Sorry, I just want to illustrate the most important thing is the study of EURJPY. That's what we're trying to study. We're studying JPY and we want to see whether or not this drawdown here is in play. And obviously, if that changes, I will tell you and I will explain the reasons why. And use the opportunity as well to ask as many questions as you can. For those of you that aren't part of the the Forex Factory thread and you just watch these videos on YouTube, just if you want, just jump over, just post if you have a question or something that you're interested in, you want to find something out. You can always email me, info@lsptrading.co.uk. But if you want to jump over to the forum, post something in there, I'll address it in the video. And yeah, so we'll take it from there. All right, guys, so sorry for the little rant. And as always, I hope the video finds everybody well. We know what we're going to be looking for this week. What I would like to see is I want to see price through this level convincingly. So a nice drop through this level. Don't want to see it drop, take out this, and then reject. Yeah, because then we're going higher. I want to see price come through this nicely, stay around about here, and then we've got this liquidity pull down here, which I think price is probably going to end up reaching for after it's gone through this. If it starts to grind higher and it goes through the gap, so complete gap fill, starts to grind through these levels, takes out this high, it is possible. I'm not guaranteed, but it is possible that it's going to go up to this upper level up here. All right, guys. So I'll leave it at that. As always, I hope the video finds everybody well. Hope you had a great weekend, and I'll catch up with you. I'm sure at some point either today or tomorrow for the next review. Take care.